almost like the Flashpoint, where it starts, one of the key matrix lines that will help shatter this status centralized system.
Welcome, friends. This is Flashpoint Radio, and I am your host, Jay-Z. Thank you for joining me. It is Friday, June 1st, 2012, and Bilderberg 2012 is fully underway in Chantilly, Virginia. Check my report yesterday on the conference, and please go over to Infowars.com/Bilderberg2012 to get linked to live streams and full-scale coverage of the event. But here on Flashpoint Radio tonight, we are going to cover some stories that I wanted to get to on Tuesday it was, but I never got to it, so we're going to revisit those stories right now, and we're going to start with a giant flashpoint, a global flashpoint, and that is Syria. We all know what's going on with Iran and the Western powers. Well, there is a similar situation that happened in Libya happening in Syria with Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, and rebel forces who are admittedly being funded by our government and other Western governments in NATO, and possibly covert terrorist organizations, i.e. Al-Qaeda, as were used by us in Libya and as were created by us in 1979, working inside of Syria. So let's get right to the stories. This is the news that happened last week. There was a Houla massacre. CNN, quote, "We are humans, not animals. Save our souls," pleads Houla massacre witness. Over 100 people were murdered, massacred last weekend in Houla. The people of Houla gathered for a protest against Assad. Well, the city came under shelling from Syrian army forces. That is admitted by the Syrian government. But after that, people were murdered. A group of soldiers, some say 600, some say as high as 800 to 900, entered the city and went from house to house, murdering men, women, and children with no regard for anything. Stabbing, killing, just gruesome. There's video, supposed video, from the CNN article. One of the gentlemen that was interviewed from Houla said he believed the men who carried out the attack were trying to incite a sectarian conflict in the region. Well, is it not the British Great Game model and Western powers model to go into a country and play both sides? That is what a sectarian conflict is. That's what happened in Iraq. That's what's happening in Afghanistan. That's what's happening throughout the Middle East. You fund both sides, and then you wait for them to hash it out, and you come in as the savior. But the mainstream media had already been caught, from Infowars.com from this Monday. BBC caught in Syria massacre propaganda hoax. Check out the pictures in the article below, but they used a picture that was first published in the Iraq War, Iraqi children. I believe this picture was published in 2006, possibly, I believe 2002. And so they reposted this picture that was sent to them and remarked it as from the Houla massacre. And not that they're trying to actually fool anybody, but this is just proof that they're idiots. You have no proofreaders. Somebody sends you an email of a picture and it comes from an IP address in Syria, and you just take it as God's fact. Why don't you do a little research, because you're making yourselves look stupid, BBC, mainstream media, trickle-down media. But at least some people are asking questions. But it's from thestar.com, and their headline is "What Happened at Syria's Houla Massacre." Well, there's conflicting reports, and no one has taken blame. The UN and NATO and Western powers came in and said it was the Syrian government right off the bat with no proof whatsoever. At least this article goes over both sides. The Syrian government states that it was terrorists that entered the city, and they said that they were fighting those terrorists and other groups that had a stronghold. It says last winter, a unit of Free Syrian Army rebel forces moved into Houla, giving the residents the confidence to speak out against Bashar Assad's regime, which happened Friday. So it was an anti-Assad stronghold, and some of the reports state that it may have been anti-Assad people pulling off a false flag attack. Infowars.com reported that out of a Syrian news source just yesterday, I believe. And yes, there is reports that it was people simply trying to incite violence. Could be Western powers, who knows? But how does this play with some of our other allies / enemies? And how about Russia? Russia has always been on the side of Syria, and they were on the side of Libya, of Gaddafi in Libya, and they wanted the Americas, they wanted NATO, they wanted them all out of the Middle East and stop meddling. From MercuryNews.com, Russia condemns ally Syria over massacre of 108. Russian government officials came out and decried the Syrian government for allowing it to happen. They did not say that the Syrian government was the culprit. They just said that violence that takes place in your country ultimately has to fall on the shoulders of the government, which is a pretty logical and reasonable statement from Russia. But our government came out and already pointed the finger at the Syrian government and already counted them as guilty, similar as bath salts in the zombie attacks. One day later, they already know what the problem is or know what caused it. So, CNN again. U.S. allies expel Syrian diplomats after massacre. So, here we go. This is political acceleration being put on. This is the political battles that are fought behind the scenes. They have expelled Syrian diplomats from our embassies. That is a pretty bold statement politically, diplomatically. So they may be trying to push the buttons in order to get a reaction so they can send in their forces. Just search U.S. government readies troops for Syria or is prepared to invade Syria. You'll get tons of articles from this week about it. But we're mad at Syria. Russia condemns Syria. But then we've got this from Reuters from last week, Friday. Russian arms shipment en route to Syria. Report. So wait a minute. We don't like Syria. Russia's shipping arms to Syria. Well, that can't be very good. What's going on with Russia? From May 23rd, Russia tests new missile in warning over U.S. shield. They're testing a new ballistic missile to warn us if we put that missile defense shield in Western Europe. Here's this from May 24th. Report, Russian intelligence suspects U.S. hand in superjet crash. There was a superjet that supposedly crashed in a volcano en route to, I believe it was South Korea. And now the Russian government is stating that U.S. intelligence might be the culprit. Well, that sounds like an awful lot of harsh language from Russia and a lot of contention between us and Russia. Then why is it, if it is as it seems, if the media, if we're supposed to believe the media, then those stories state that we are in tensions with Russia and we are not friends with Russia. But this from the Huffington Post, Denver, U.S. Russian soldiers trained together in Colorado at Fort Carson. Marks first time Russians have trained on U.S. soil. From last week. Yes, over the past weekend, Russian special forces were in Fort Carson, Colorado, training with our special forces. I don't know. I'm not a politician. I don't know how the world works. I'm not Lawrence O'Donnell. Watch Flashpoint from yesterday. I don't know everything, but it seems to me if we're at odds with Russia on so many large issues like Syria and nuclear defense and things like that, and possibly shooting down their secret technology, what in the world do we have them training with our troops for? Just asking questions, which I'm trying to get you to do. And here's a couple other stories to finish tonight for you to ask questions of your friends, family, maybe your government officials if you ever get to them. From Freedom Watch, Mike Adams and naturalnews.com. Not a single Democrat voted in favor of ending FDA raids on raw milk farmers. Yes, there was a vote last week to end FDA raids on milk farmers, raw milk farmers who were selling private sales. Rand Paul introduced the legislation, and every Democratic senator voted against it. Only 15 Republicans voted for it, so 85% of the U.S. Senate supports total FDA tyranny over raw milk, farms, foods, and supplements. Yeah. Check the list. See if your senators voted for or against it, if they believe in health freedom. From the UK, Daily Mail Online revealed hundreds of words to avoid using online if you don't want the government spying on you, and they include pork. Department of Homeland Security forced to release list following Freedom of Information request. Please read the list of words that you should not be putting in your search engine or typing on your blog. Things like smallpox, vaccine, drug war, Mexico, terror, Iraq, Afghanistan, gunfight. Yeah. Seriously, all of these words make you a terrorist. And if they're not following your electronic footprints, then you may find yourself subject to this technology from the New York Times. Shots fired, pinpointed, and argued over. This goes on about how shots were fired in Milwaukee and 2,200 miles away in Mountain View, California. A person sitting in front of a computer heard the gunshots. And got authorities there in under 4 minutes. Yes, but of course these things do not just detect gunshots, they hear everything. So maybe, just maybe, at one point your government might decide to, instead of start listening for gunshots, start listening for those words that you're not supposed to be using on the internet to point out dissenters in our country. And when they figure out that you're a terrorist, when they've decided you're a terrorist, from AOL Autos, the new police siren you can actually feel. Yes, it's called the Howler, and it uses a low-frequency vibration that can be felt up to 200 feet away. So, when they decide you're a terrorist for saying something on the street or typing something privately in your home, they will send a police car after you, and you will be able to feel it before you can hear it. That's just great. A lot of people say that it does serious damage to your nervous system. Obviously, they don't know what it really does, since it's pretty new technology, but it's coming to a city near you and it's already being implemented. So yes, another way for the police state and the government to get under your skin. Literally. Thank you for watching Flashpoint Radio. See me again next time. Jay-Z signing off, saying God bless and keep your eyes to the sky.
You've been thunder.